Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in this video today, we're going to be talking about some injury updates revolving around, quite frankly, a lot of players for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Those players include Jamel Dean, Giovani Bernard, Sean Murphy-Bunting, Jason Pierre-Paul, and Rob Gronkowski. But I am again not alone in this video today. Joining me from the Cannon Fire podcast, it is again Evan Wanish. Evan, how are you doing again today?
I'm doing quite well, and yes, it is an extensive injury list, and it's kind of crazy when you look at just 4 games and you're like, okay, yeah, this guy's out, this guy's out, this guy's out, oh, and also this guy's out, and this guy's out. So, and this guy might not play either.
I do want to say the Bucs, people I guess really overlook how lucky the Bucs got last year in terms of
Mm-hmm.
injury luck. It was absolutely insane. Now it's starting to catch up a little bit, right? Now it's starting to finally work its way into the team, and it's been, very apparent. So, yeah, we're going to be talking about some of the quotes that Bruce Arians gave on, I believe it was Monday. So these quotes are from yesterday, revolving around some of these players' injuries. Evan, the first player that I want to talk about, or I guess that Bruce Arians gave a quote about, was Sean Murphy-Bunting. Here's the quote on SMB's recovery from his injury from Bruce Arians. He said, "He's making progress," Arians said. "He's still probably a ways away, but he's making progress." Thoughts on that quote? Thoughts on what's going on with SMB's injury? Because he was placed on the injured reserve, right? But that period
Mm-hmm.
is now up. He can
Yep.
basically come back and practice at any time, correct?
Yeah, he can come back and play on Sunday if he want, if he can. Like, yeah, he can play. Yeah, his time on the IR, I believe, is up. It's just 3 weeks, and then, yeah, he's good to go. So yeah, if he were healthy enough, he could play versus Miami. He could play versus Philly the next week. It doesn't sound like that's realistic. I think Bruce, knows what he's looking at as like a target date. My guess would be just looking at the schedule. They have Miami, then they got a short week versus Philly. Not likely to play in that game. Like I said, it's a quick turnaround, Sunday to Thursday. But then you play that Thursday night game, and then you have 10 days off. So I think the target date could be Week 7 versus the Bears for Sean Murphy Bunting. Not reporting that, not anything like that, but just my guess is just with the way the schedule sets up. But it's good because that he's progressing, because it sounds like he is closer to returning than he has been in the past. So will be definitely a big boost to their nickel spot, and give them, have Ross Cockrell in the fourth corner spot or the fifth corner spot where really he's thrived.
Yeah, whenever I hear a ways away, me personally, I don't know. Week 7 could be a target. I'm kind of honestly thinking maybe towards the trade deadline is when he may be back, or not the trade deadline, the bye week rather, is when he may be back, is kind of when I hear that. Because usually, you know how Arians quotes things. He kind of goes, oh, the guy, he might be back soon. We'll see. It is what it, he gives all these other different types of quotes. For Bruce Arians to say, like, hey, he's probably a ways away, I think that means that he still probably has a few weeks left to go. Could be week 7, could be the bye week. This situation, we don't have a ton of updates on that, right? Besides just
Mm.
like, hey, he's still recovering. He is still coming back from his injury. Some more, I guess, information that we got was in regards to guys like Jamel Dean, Jason Pierre-Paul, Giovani Bernard, and Rob Gronkowski. Bruce Arians was quoted as saying, "It's yet to be determined. I think Jamel Dean should be getting in some practice this week. JPP might be getting a little in. Don't know if he'll play yet. So yeah, each one of those guys will find out more Wednesday." That's kind of been the case in regards to injury updates with the Bucs. Usually we get some of these answers on Wednesday, but in the case of Jamel Dean, he practiced last week. In the case of Jason Pierre-Paul, he said that he was going to play in week 4. Didn't happen. May have been a setback with his injury, something along those lines. What are your thoughts on all of these guys like Dean, JPP, Bernard? Not so much Rob Gronkowski, because, that wasn't really in the quote. There's an entirely different quote regarding him. But what about JPP, Dean, and Bernard here?
Yeah, well, Jason Pierre-Paul, he said basically, if I'm traveling, I'm playing. Well, he didn't travel, so
Mm-hmm.
that meant he wasn't playing. As far as in terms of all three of those guys, I believe, now I don't know this for a fact, but I believe all three of those guys are gonna return very close to each other. I think they
Yeah.
could possibly return all in the same game. Like, I think you're looking at either this week versus Miami, week 5, or I think if they do not return week 5, I think you will see all of them week 6. I think all three of those guys are pretty close to coming back, especially Jamel Dean, who, like you said, practiced last week. It looked like he was going to play week 4, right? It wasn't until later in the week that he was declared out. So I think Jamel Dean is out of those three. I think the one that's most likely to play this Sunday is probably Jamel Dean. I think he's on track to play. But we'll see what happens. We'll see, if he's practicing, if he's limited, if he's not practicing at all. But I do think all three of those guys, if not this week, I think they'll be back for week 6.
I'm going to say that Jamel Dean, again, no info here, just kind of providing some updates based on the information we do have. Jamel Dean, I would say, has a pretty decent chance to return versus Miami. And then I imagine JPP and Giovani Bernard, they may take an extra week. They may come in the next game after the Miami game, would be my basic guess there based on the information. You see Bruce Arians, he said, Jamel Dean should be getting in some practice this week. He expects Jamel Dean to get some practice in this week. And then JPP, he says, maybe he'll get in a little. Didn't really mention Giovani Bernard a ton there.
I just think Jason Pierre-Paul wants to play so bad. I just think he wants to play, and I just think, I don't think the Bucs are in any rush, especially with Joe Tryon Shoyinka playing the way he has, and getting 2 sacks. Like, that's big, right? Like, you don't need to rush Jason Pierre-Paul back, but it would be nice to have JPP sort of as that leader on the defense there, and that vocal guy. Another guy on the defense who we haven't even mentioned was Antoine Winfield in concussion protocol. Arian said it'd be difficult for him to play this week versus Miami to get out of the concussion protocol. He may actually be fine on Sunday, but like the NFL rules states that he's got to be in protocol for this amount of days and he's got to pass these tests. And I think he's another guy who probably sits out this week, but could return week 6. So we could be looking at week 6, this team being much healthier than they are right now. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the last quote that we have here from Bruce Arians is regarding Rob Gronkowski's injury after this quote comes from after the Patriots. The injury was sustained versus the Rams. But I know that there's some misinformation out there. Ian Rappaport had talked about it. Adam Schefter had talked about it. I know I've been seeing tons of comments about it. Broken ribs, a punctured lung. Oh my gosh, he's going to be out for a while. This is from Bruce Arians himself, okay? Once he had the CT scans, some things showed up, Arians said. He did have, I think, 3 or 4 fractures and a pinch in the lung. It wasn't blown up, but we'll see how long it takes. Bruce Arians talked about how really all of these guys that we're mentioning, minus Sean Murphy-Bunting, have been on a week-to-week basis. I think that is also going to be the case with Rob Gronkowski. He's not going to automatically be out for 4 or 5 weeks. And I do think that there was... I'm not going to say that Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport are giving misinformation out there, but whenever you get a quote from the head coach himself saying, okay, 3 or 4 fractures and a pinched lung, it's not a good injury at all. That's still going to hurt. That still will definitely make you questionable on a week-to-week basis, but there was a little bit of miscommunication there, correct?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, it could also be possible that the coach doesn't want to exactly say what the injury is. I mean, that's possible. Could be the information that Schefter or Rapport are getting aren't 100% accurate. Jay Glazer was the one that actually, Rob Gronkowski said that, he had some serious stuff. And I believe Gronkowski said broken ribs, but the doctors may have told Arian something different. We'll see, right? As far as being out for 4 or 5 weeks, I agree with you there. Clearly the Bucs still think there's a chance he could play week 6 because they would have put him on IR. I would assume if he wouldn't, right? If they didn't think there was any chance he was playing Thursday night, week 6 versus Philly, then they wouldn't have put him. They would have put him on IR. Sorry. I mean, because then you'd open up a roster spot, and then that's how that would work. But They didn't. They keep him on the active roster, not on IR, and that tells me that they're at least hopeful that he could be back for week 6. I personally don't think he'll be back for week 6. I don't even think week 7. I think week 8 is a more realistic target. Maybe after the bye week. Maybe week 8 rolls around. He's not really feeling 100%. They're like, you know what? Sit this one out. We got the bye week next week. Then just come back week 10, pretty much ready to go. We'll see what happens, but that tells me that like they think there's a chance he could play week 6, and we'll see. I know there's a lot of varying things. He's not going to miss much time. He's not going to miss this game versus New England, and then he does, and then he's going to be out this amount of time. There's so much stuff we don't know, right? Nobody. There's very few of us that are talking about this right now that are actually doctors or are trained to talk about this stuff, that actually know what's going on. And even Arians himself doesn't firsthand know what's going on and how Gronk's body is going to react to it and treatment and everything. So we'll just have to wait and see. I wouldn't expect them in the next 2 weeks, but clearly the Bucs are hopeful for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, they would have put Gronk on the IR. I mean, honestly, like, I want to say in terms of availability for week 5 too, right, versus Miami, like, they may have some sliver of hope that he maybe could get in there and play a few snaps, right? Because like you said, they haven't put him on the IR yet. That would be a very telling thing, and they haven't even, as far as we know, that hasn't even been brought up, right? They've just been kind of looking at all these guys on a week-to-week basis. Based on the quotes that we've given here, it sounds like progress is being made on some of these guys coming back healthier. Same thing with Rob Gronkowski as well. And right now at the end of the day, in terms of updates on all of this, besides SMB, really all of these guys are still on a week-to-week basis, right? Any of these guys could be knocked out for the week, or they could come back for the week. It really just depends. At the end of the day, you look at Gronkowski, he's probably the most unlikely out of the bunch to play, I would imagine, going into at least week number 5. That's kind of what this is for the week 5 update. Gronkowski is probably the most unlikely to play. Then I would probably say Jason Pierre-Paul or Giovani Bernard, maybe just have them both be together, and then Jamel Dean's probably the most likely to play in week number 5. Do you think that's a safe thing to say there?
Yeah, I think, Rob Gronkowski and Sean Bunting, I pair them together. And then I think Jason Pierre-Paul might have a better shot than Gio Bernard. I do. I think Jamel Dean, like you said, I think he's on track to play. So we'll see what his practice schedule looks like. Even if he doesn't practice on Wednesday, the really telling thing will be Thursday and Friday. So even if he doesn't practice, we'll see. I think even if Jason Pierre-Paul doesn't practice, like JPP didn't practice last week, and there was still talk of he wanted to play. So like we'll see what happens. But yeah, Giovani Bernard did not practice at all last week, so it'll be interesting to see if he practices. I think it's very telling. But yeah, I do think Jamel Dean's on track to play Sunday, and it would be a big boost. It would be. I know Dean has been great, and he's been a punching bag for this fan base, but he's a heck of a lot better than some of the options they could throw out there. So, and more experienced in this defense than some of the options they have. So, getting him back would be pretty nice.
Absolutely. So, guys, those are kind of your injury updates for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going into week number 5. If there's any new information about guys being knocked out, guys playing, we will be having separate videos talking about those situations as well. Evan, I want to thank you for joining me on this update video today. Do you have any final words before we could go ahead and close this out?
Yeah, check me out on the Can of Fire podcast on YouTube or anywhere you listen to a podcast. We're trying to get to 3,000 subscribers, so we need your help. Can't do it alone, so we need your help. Help get us there. Also, quick shout out: we are 5 weeks away from the Cannon Fire watch party at Berry House. Going to be right after the bye week. We're talking about this team possibly being pretty healthy after the bye week. We could be seeing a healthy Bucs team square off against the Washington football team. What better way to do that than at Berry House Brewing Company? Also, food options, got you covered. Wing Box is going to be there. Wing Box food truck. Some of the best wings you're going to have. My co-host Rhett has been going there since he was like in high school. He says it's the best wings he's ever had in his life. And let me tell you, he's the king of the wing champion, right? That man can eat some wings. So if the king of the wing champion is telling you that this is the best wings he's ever had, they're doing something right. So we're going to be out there. We're going to be doing a pre and post game podcast. James is going to be there. I know a few other people that we've talked to that are going to be there. Some maybe some, some guys that from social media or different content creators are going to be there. So come on out. It'll be a great time. Party starts at noon.
Absolutely. So I will have links to all that in the pinned comment in the comment section below, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you all enjoyed, and we will see you in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.